I'm Douglas Johnson from PwC. I have the slightly onerous title of Director of Technology and Innovation for PwC. So I guess the first thing to sort of explain is why are PwC interested in Internet of Things and other such technologies. We're a professional services firm, the largest professional services firm in the world. In the UK we have 23,000 people doing all sorts of things around accountancy, assurance, tax, risk assurance, risk management, consulting, deals, acquisitions, mergers, all that kind of stuff. About 2 years ago, we started to look at the business and say, right, what's happening in the outside world? All this new technology, emerging technology is going to have an impact on us and our clients. We need to invest some time and some money and some people into looking at these. So I head up a team that looks at our internal technology transformation. So how do we transform our business to be more tech-enabled? And then how do we take that technology out to our clients to help enhance what we do for them and to make their businesses better? And I'll go through some of the stuff that we're talking about from there. But happy, it's a small group, so if you've got anything, any questions as we go through, just hand up, shout out, and we can just make this as informal as we can. I've got a few slides to walk around. We do lots of surveys, we do lots of Q&A with CEOs, CIOs, CISOs, whatever C job that you've got. We talk to you about what's happening in your industry. This seems really obvious, but actually it's the disrupt word. People talk about transformation and technology will change business, but what actually CEOs are now saying is that the new advances in technology, the new stuff that's happening will actually disrupt the business. It will make what they do more difficult, it will make what they do more interesting, it will bring newcomers to the market and change the kind of business world that they're in. So what we did is we did some research and we paid for some additional research to look at the emerging technology market and identify where we thought the key streams of technology innovation were that would impact us in our world and impact our clients. And we came up with what we call the essential 8. Now I can never remember all 8 at any point in time, and often if you talk to me, it'll be a different 8. The reason for that is, this is not right, it's the best guess. There are 8 on here, there could be 12, there could be 15. If we sat and had a beer and had a discussion about this, we came up with a different 8 that we could all justify. But we looked at this and this is what we came up with as having the biggest impact on our business and our clients. And obviously inside of it is Internet of Things, which is why I'm going to talk about some of this stuff today. So what we did is we built 8 technology strands within our business, and we have 8 teams internally looking at these technologies and currently developing solutions, working with clients, working with suppliers, and working with technology providers to deliver stuff in this space, both for us internally, but also for our clients. So I would say the only thing I can't think of off the top of my head that we've got a client-paying piece of work ongoing at the moment is in 3D printing. We've done a consultancy piece of work with Aberdeen Council around building, using 3D printers to make the equipment for when people are released from hospital, disabled people. It's a very expensive process to prepare their property for them coming back and leaving hospitals, putting guardrails up on the stairs, things in the shower. These things all have to be handcrafted quite often because they were old buildings. They now use 3D printing to build some of this stuff so that before someone comes out of hospital, they can build these parts. And we took them through that kind of journey of thinking differently about how to implement that. So everything else that we're doing, we've got paid pieces of work going on in all these areas. And I'll talk a little bit about each of those. Internet of Things, I think the two stats for me was 73% of companies making IoT investments today. This was in 2017. You can only imagine that number's bumped up slightly over that period of time. And 47% say it'd be most important tech for cutting costs. So in a market where the cost pressure, delivery costs, all those things are in there, this is obviously a key technology, a key part of what people are looking at to save money. So I'm going to talk about kind of 3 things, convergence, collaboration, and context. And that's the kind of 3 themes that I'm going to just talk around. The convergence piece for me is the most interesting piece. We looked at those 8 technologies, and actually each one of those individually can have an impact on a particular business or a particular market. But where it gets much more interesting is when you start to join those things together. You know, it's easy to look at what you do if you're an Internet of Things business or technologist, to just think about IoT and what you're doing. But actually where you'll be much more successful is if you start to work with an AI company. So you're looking at capturing the data and using AI to put some meaning behind it. So the convergence piece, I think, is really important. So what we did is we kind of did a wee bit more research around this and started to look at some of the convergence of where IoT might fit in with other elements of our Essential 8 to deliver an impact on business. So intelligent automation, this is your Industry 4.0, this is your automated manufacturing, this is your automotive, which is really, you know, one of the sort of key driving areas of factory change of the factory floor, and that sort of drive towards automation. We did this piece, 6% of jobs will be eliminated by 30 years related robust by 2021. We did this the last time we did an AI thing here, and I did some stats that we've done on AI about robotic processing, and our research showed that actually the net change of jobs would be an increase. I think the headline was picked up. It was a weird one. The Daily Mail was the only newspaper that actually presented our report correctly. We said in the report that there would be 570,000 jobs lost, but there would be 585,000 jobs created. And the Daily Mail was the only newspaper that presented that balanced view, whereas everyone else presented the 570,000 lost jobs due to automation, which is quite an unusual thing. Even the Scotsman picked that up the wrong way. But this is for us is, you know, this idea of intelligent automation. So as an example within PwC, we've now provided an outsourced Know Your Customer service for big financial services companies. So KYC and AML checking is a core part of onboarding any customer. We've built a whole RPA, so robotic process automation around that, and we can provide that to clients at a fraction of the cost of hiring people to do that. And that's a combination of these three different technologies in there. Embodied AI, so that's looking at, you know, things like satellite imaging. We do quite a lot looking at the before and after effects of storm damage for insurance claims. So using drones, for example, to take a photograph of a building as it's built and take a photograph afterwards when damage has been done caused by a storm, compare those two images so that when an insurance claim is made, we can analyse the data behind that and make sure the claim is correct. Using IoT sensors as part of that, so you can look at the impact that potential storms have on those particular buildings. And that's something we've been working on with Microsoft. And if you go onto the website, there's quite a good case study around that we did for an insurance company. That's probably enough on that. Conversational interfaces, again, we're doing loads with companies around process automation and understanding what is the best way to take in customer inquiries and customer conversations, but also looking at providing automated services around product choice. So we're doing a lot of financial services, so pensions, mortgages, life assurance. You know, we're finding that most of those companies are now providing that online, but using AI and embedding services behind that to actually provide the advice. So that advisory, there's a massive financial services company not too far from here is spending lots of money re-engineering their entire platform to do that, around that whole robotic processing and that AI piece, basically reducing the cost and fund and pension management costs and increasing their profitability around that. Again, that will be a combination of all of these technologies where, you know, IoT is measuring things. Potentially, if it's a pension, it's measuring the quality of life in your household. What's the air pollution like? You know, what's the heating like? What are you doing within your property? And that will continue. We've all seen it in the driver apps. Norwich Union, one of the sort of first market movers in that, where they've got those applications that will track the usage. Automating trust. We've just rolled out a blockchain solution which helps individuals manage their professional qualifications in a secure way so they can be shared with employers and with organisations that need to see that you're still a qualified chartered accountant or you're an architect who's been through the right qualification process. So that was just launched about 6 weeks ago, and we've had quite good success with that. The other one I do like, So PwC's motto is that we solve important problems in society. Our blockchain guys have just rolled out a solution that uses blockchain to secure the credentials and intellectual property in Panini football cards. So the old-fashioned stickers that you used to get when you were a boy, you can now buy those online. I didn't know this was all news to me. But you buy them online and you swap them online, and there are limited edition cards. And so they're now using blockchain to secure the integrity of that intellectual property around those cards. I'm not sure it's a massive, important societal problem. We were just discussing that. When you've got a technology solution looking for a problem to solve, that kind of sounds like one of those to me. But it's a good use case. It's an interesting use because it extrapolates into other intellectual property you might want to secure. It's maybe a trivial example, but I think it's got some weight behind it. One of the things we're doing with trust, blockchain, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Extended reality, so again, you're obviously using Internet things to sense the environment that you're in. We've just done a couple of projects with companies looking at HR issues, how to deal with employees who have got issues. Lots of HR and professionals won't experience that challenging conversation until it happens for the first time. Something's happened at work, an employee's got an issue, you have to deal with it, you've never had the experience of dealing with that. So we've built virtual reality worlds that allowed HR professionals to have those difficult conversations in a protected and closed space where it's safe to make mistakes so that they can learn around that whole piece. Doing it in VR just makes it more real, it just brings it all together and makes it more appropriate. So we've actually been quite successful with this, and it's one of the ones that I guess for us, when you think about PwC as a business, you wouldn't think that we have an augmented reality, virtual reality team sitting inside our business. We just built a thing called the Frontier Lab in our office in London, which anyone who's around, and if you've got some time, get in touch and I'd be happy to do an introduction, get you into the lab, you can have a look. It's called the Frontier Space. There's a lab in there with, I think, 160 VR headsets, and the screen that's about twice the size of this wall, and you can do VR testing in there. And that's an open space that anyone can go visit. And there's a number of other bits and pieces. Not quite as well tooled out as your lab, but it's got some interesting things in there. And we're starting to see some more use cases around VR, particularly in defence, in people and transformation, digital transformation, workplace of the future. So what happens to my workplace if I change it all to an open desk policy? Hot desking, what happens? What's the interaction like between individuals? And modelling that in an environment. What do you do when you come in the morning and someone's sitting at your desk? We did that in our office in London, where we took away the ability to book a desk, and basically first in got a desk and a sensor worked out you were there, and then blocked that desk out for the rest of the day. And if you were used to sitting on a particular desk every day when you came in, suddenly somebody was there, what does that feel like? And so we modelled a lot of that in VR just to try and understand what that impact might look like. And of course we went ahead and did it anyway regardless. Property costs are what they are. So we just rolled that out to the Edinburgh office actually. I've not been into the office since it was rolled out, but we have a big board and all the desks are mapped out and it shows you which ones are available. So no doubt there'll be some mischievous people who will be sitting in a desk they know that somebody's been sitting in for 10 years just to wind them up. So that's just some examples of a thing where IoT fits in around that kind of convergence piece, where they start to think about what you're working on and where you can maybe collaborate or partner with someone else to make your technology more interesting and more relevant for a potential client. Because I think that's where it becomes sometimes an easier sell. You've got maybe a better opportunity collaborating with someone to put something forward. And then I think the next thing is context. When it does come to trying to sell something that's a new and emerging technology into a business, particularly a bigger business, if you've got some big customers, it's quite difficult sometimes to make that leap and get people to understand why what you're doing is important and why in the future this is going to be a really key piece. And I think you've got to think often about the context of who you're selling this to and how does that work in their organisation. How do you pick? We picked our Essential 8. in your business or in your customer's business, how do they pick the essential 4, 6, 8, 10, 5, 1, whatever the number is that's important to them? I'm sure all of us, if you know a bit about Internet of Things, blockchain, sensors, we've just done the same exercise, you could find a use case within every business. So as a buyer and as a business, how do I get rid of the noise and focus in on the stuff that's actually going to be key to changing my business? I think trying to keep that in mind when you're talking to clients about how you explain what it is you do and how you make it relevant and contextual to what they do will help you in that sales process. And the more you can do around education, and particularly things like this, where you can bring, if everyone could bring a client next time or a potential client and help them understand the kind of journey around this technology. Executive support is also key. Making sure that within the business you're selling to, the chief exec or the head of manufacturing or the CIO understands what it is you're doing and supports you through that sales process. So making sure that you've got that buy-in and that contextual support is really important. Take you through the journey. I see this all the time. How does somebody buy what you do? Is it a pilot first? Is it a proof of concept? What are the critical success factors for that pilot and that proof of concept? What does success look like if you do a pilot with someone? How did you move from a pilot to a full rollout? How did you do all that stuff? And does that match to the procurement process that the potential client has? So there's no point in going to somebody saying, let's do a proof of concept. They say, well, we don't do proof of concepts. We just buy off-the-shelf technology that works, and we buy it in a license model, or we sell on a sort of project basis. So making sure that you can map that journey and how you want to sell to how they want to buy is quite important. And illustrating new ways to work. What you've got if you're working in this space is a disruptive technology that can change the way people do business and change the way that people work. You've got to do that in a comfortable way as well. I'm running a session next week about disrupting the audit process. And my audience is 25 auditors who don't want to hear about how we're going to disrupt the audit process. First of all, I'm not an accountant. Secondly, I know nothing about auditing. Why are you telling me how to disrupt the audit process? And by the way, I can do it cheaper, faster, better, and with less people. So you've got to be aware of that when you're bringing these new technologies in, because you're going to transform the way people work and what they do. So be conscious and be aware of that. And then the security piece is really key. Obviously, Internet of Things, extending networks beyond core network, or putting new endpoints in that are enabled within the network. You've got trains with sensors. How do you make sure those are secure? How do you make sure that all of the elements of what you do has a cybersecurity wrapper around it? Because I've seen loads of new technologies and loads of solutions go to market and fail on the cybersecurity check. The guy from cyber will be along, he will want to poke around and kick at your thing and make sure it works and it does what it says on the tin and it's secure. So making sure you embed that cybersecurity piece from the start, it's embedded into what you do from day one. And that's just a bit about context, making sure that you understand what it's like for the buyer on the other side. We've all been there, you get excited about your new technology, just make sure that you're taking into account some of those things. We did a study on digital maturity, the concept of digital champions and digital novices within businesses and what types of business. There was about 1,200 companies who did this piece of work. So we scored them based on a number of criteria, whether or not they became digital native right through to, digital champion through to digital novice. And that's kind of the mapping that we came up with of 1,155 companies. So you can see the average is that kind of digital follower. So they're not early adopters, they're coming along on the second wave, and that's where the kind of key piece is. Your digital champions, so those are your target clients, typically, are quite a small number of those kind of average companies. And then we looked at across a number of markets, trying to understand where the higher number of digital champions were in particular markets. Because again, if you've got a technology solution, there's probably a difficult sell in process industries, but maybe an easier sell in automotive currently. This was a German study actually. This was done in Germany with German companies. I think it probably travels quite well. But it's quite interesting to look at that and try and understand, your target market, is it ready for the technology change that you're going to bring? And what we worked out was this idea of this digital champion was trying to, if that company, the target you're trying to sell to it's quite low down on that digital maturity index, is try and find someone in the organisation that can be a champion for what you're trying to do, and nurture that individual and bring them along. In my job day to day, that's what I do. I work with early stage tech companies to try and show them how they could sell to PwC and how we can take that technology in and guide them through that process. Try and find someone within your target organisation or your client organisation that could do that for you. This is again from the same study. The question was, to what extent have you implemented the following technologies within your company? So you can see IoT comes in, or connected industrial Internet of Things, comes in at number 4 on that list. So 42% of companies who responded to this have implemented, to some extent, IoT. But what's interesting is within the digital champions, 7 to 8% have. So obviously, if you're targeting a particular type of organisation, you're going to have a higher chance of success of selling your solution into that business that's the digital champions. And some of that stuff, I think it all kind of stacks up in terms of where you'd expect people to be investing. I was surprised with AI that only 9%, but I guess AI is one of those things that everyone's talking about and not an awful lot of people are doing. Apart from AIRs who are based here, who are doing some interesting stuff with AI scheduling for resources. PwC bought that product, just to give you an idea of the sort of stuff we do. So we bought the AIRS product to do scheduling in our service centres in Poland with, I think, 6,500 people. So we do buy products from companies in code bases and smaller tech companies. Just to give you that as an example. But you can see, that's thinking about these things when you're putting together a proposition. And again, you can see obviously German study, automotive was very strong in this in terms of their adoption of new technology. But mapping that stuff out in your market sector is certainly something that's worth doing. That's it. That's all I was going to talk about. It was just really to go through that piece around how to help enable you to sell the new technologies into the market and what to think about. We were just talking about, there's so many great technology ideas looking for a problem to solve. It's trying to come back the other way and say, right, what are the problems that the market are looking at that our technology solutions can solve? So I'm going to stop there. I'm happy to take any questions or any thoughts anybody's got on that. I'm around for the rest of the evening. I'm also pretty much spend half my time in Codebase hanging about, so if anybody wants to have a chat about anything, feel free to give me a shout. I haven't put my email address on there, but douglas.shand@pwc.com. You can always get me there. I'm happy to have a chat.
In all those collaborative concepts, you had AI as a key part of that. Do you think that's going to be what helps us to decipher data and to unlock really the collaboration between the various different parts?
I think it's essential. We built a cybersecurity managed service platform. So we've got a big cybersecurity team, 500 people. We built a managed threat detection and response platform, and we rolled it out to, say, 160 clients, something like that. It was 385 million events an hour that were getting reported. Now, how good your BI is or your old-fashioned data tools are, there's no way you can interpret or react to that kind of onslaught of information without putting an AI behind it to understand what's going on and what should I do. And in the end, what we did is we actually invested more in the AI tools behind it than we did on the platform for managing the threats, because that allowed us to actually understand what the issues were. And that's where the insight came from. We were able to then predict if we saw a particular threat happening at one client, we could predict where it would happen next. And we were able to pre-warn clients that we think this attack is going to happen to you next because of that. But I think the data piece, it's interesting what we've done. We had data and analytics was one of our essential, it used to be essential 9, and data analytics was one of those. But within 18 months, we disbanded that specialist team and put everybody back into the core business so that that data and analytics skill set was embedded all over the business. It didn't need to be a specialist skill anymore. And we've probably seen that. The next one we'll probably do that with is drones. We started to use drones a lot in doing audits, data capture, whether it's through photography or other kind of sensors. And essentially it just becomes a tool which becomes a key part of your day-to-day working. And we'll probably disband that specialist team, I think, probably in the next 6 months, and just have drones as a component of what we do in that assurance line of service. But I think AI will underpin all of that. I can't see, the more sensors you put out there, the more data you collect, the more data is complex, needs to be interpreted. And typically the more data you have and the more you collect, the faster people want to respond. And if you've got Internet of Things, real-time analysis of events, you want to react now. And if it's enhanced manufacturing where you're trying to reduce costs, your bill of materials wants to react to that as quickly as you can. And so therefore, there's no way that an individual or a team of individuals can look at that information and act on it.
I'm just wondering what EWC, and I wouldn't ask you to speak for the others of the Big Four, but the kind of big audit consultancy's angle is on this. Is it basically to build services that can become a growing part of your business because you're being attacked on the audit front, and the pressure to not have such a concentrated audit field, or is there something to link it there? Because obviously audit is a field which is itself becoming heavily automated and AI concentrated and so on.
I think, to be fair, probably both of those things. So I would say our biggest consumer of our tech offerings is our audit practice. So whether it's data and analytics, AI, robotic processing, drones, those are all being used in audits as we speak. The separation of the audit part of the business from the rest of the business, pick my words correctly, it's probably an inevitability that happens. But ultimately, within the business as a whole, we already have that control. So we have a clear and distinct policy around what we can do for audit clients and what we can. And that's quite clear, and that's managed by our risk and policy team. So it's very difficult for us to offer a service to an audit client that's not allowed. We're a highly regulated business, despite what you read in the press. I mean, we are pretty strict on that. And with what was called mandatory firm rotation, so really boring audit stuff, you have to rotate your auditor at a minimum every 10 years now. Previously, you could have the same auditor forever. But what that's done is created just a schism in the business. We had a situation where we bid for a big piece of audit business and we lost it. And our audit guys were crying and in tears, couldn't believe it. And our tax guys were jumping up and down because now we can sell tax services to that company that we couldn't before. It's not healthy. So, if you forecast that out 5-10 years, will that still be one business? I don't know. But the reason that we've gone into it is it's about enhancing our services, reducing the cost, being more efficient, and also trying to help our customers be more effective at what they do. If we can take off the pressure of an audit and make it more automated, less people intensive, we've got to ask them less questions, and can automate the process, then it becomes less of a burden for them, and it becomes typically something you can do more often. So rather than a sort of end of year, I'll go see you and we'll do the audit, we can visit you every quarter or every couple of months. So a good example, I've used this a number of times, we did an audit for a coal-fired power station down in South Wales, big piles of coal, and they had to report every 6 months what their capacity was in terms of power that they could generate based on the coal stocks that they had. So they sent a guy with a big stick and a set of ladders, and he'd lean it on the pile of coal, climb up to the top, stick the big stick in, put a number into a spreadsheet, and there's a wee formula that worked out the volume of coal and therefore how much power could be generated. Incredibly dangerous, incredibly inaccurate, and incredibly difficult to do.
Drones.
Yeah, so we used to put a drone up, we took a photo, we created a model that measured the volume of coal much more accurately than their little formula was, and then essentially we could do that every day. It took 5 minutes, rather than this poor guy, literally. And then it was quite interesting because I was talking to someone at work about this exact example, and she had done an audit at a coal-fired power station many, many years ago, and they couldn't understand why everybody in the local area was burning coal, the houses were really warm, and there was this thing, but the pile of coal was never going down. Somebody pulled it all back, they found a double-decker bus inside the pile of coal. People had been stealing the coal for years, put a double-decker bus in and covered it up to make it look like it was full. Drones probably couldn't identify that. But really for us it's about that. So warehouse inspections, when you're counting stock during an audit, we would send junior staff down with a clipboard to walk up and down aisles, 1, 2, 25 boxes, forklift trucks out to move things so you can see behind. You can fly a drone with a barcode reader, scan all the packages that have got barcodes in it, and do it in half the time. And be much more accurate.
Because I was going to say that the mindset and the skills of auditing are very applicable to fields which are going to grow a lot. Environmental auditing, trust, security, the certainty around emissions, all that sort of stuff.
We're doing a lot of that where we're seeing people want to understand the impact that they're having and that data is correct and accurate so that they can make decisions about where their future investments come from. And I think that all of these technologies enhance that. But it's also for us, it's about just changing the way that we do business. There's a realization that we just sit around and wait. Exactly as you said, some smart startup will come along and say, well, we can do this with a bit of technology. And we've already seen it, whether it's Zero for online accounting or things like that were really taken away. We really don't do accounting anymore. We do very little of that. We partner with Sage, we partner with Zero, and we'll work happily with those kinds of businesses. So I think it's about enhancing, but it's also about developing our business internally. What do we do, the tools that we bring to our client and stuff. Good.
So in terms of the environment, I think a lot of products now have a very limited lifespan. I think in this room, all of our phones probably in 3 years' time will be obsolete. I wondered what the sort of impact in terms of hardware manufacturers is to make sure that their products are recyclable, and then the other side, the people who recover and recycle the products. Will there be a sort of big sort of influx of people that are specialised in recovering metals, etc., from products? Also on that, is there ways to track these things? If you add Wi-Fi to something, can you track that it's got the Wi-Fi module, and can you take that out? And things like modular.
I think our job in that is to ensure that companies fulfil their legislative demands. So that's really what we're there to do, and to ensure there's a risk assurance framework put around that. What we can do with technology is help to enhance those requirements by showing what technology can do. So exactly as you say, if you can put a marker on something and actually track it from manufacturing right through to disposal, and you can make that easy and you can audit it, then absolutely that should be part of the manufacturing process. The reverse supply chain thing was, I used to work in pharmaceuticals years ago, and that was the big thing, was reverse supply chain. I need to be able to go from my sort of product that I'm distributing at the chemist right back to manufacture and show every point in the manufacturing process, everyone who's touched it. So that e-pedigree piece was put in to do that. You see that less in those end devices. But I think also it's about, there's a responsibility to build sustainable technology, and I think that's a manufacturing and marketing problem as much as anything. That I noticed there was a report in the paper this week that people are changing their phones way much less than they've ever done before, which has got to be a good thing, I think. But it's making sure people understand the impact that what they're buying has. So I think if you can take a mobile phone and show the cost and impact and break that down and illustrate it to individuals what it means, then I think people are much more sensitive to then repurchasing the same thing again. So it's back to, I think, if we can show through these technologies that legislation could be more stringent, then I think you'll get a change in that. And I think that's where some of this is quite interesting. We do a lot in this sort of environmental monitoring, making sure that those things, and we were just talking earlier about putting sensors onto railway tracks to make sure that the actual maintenance is being done as it should. There's two parts to that. There's making sure it should be done, but also proving that you've done what you said you would do. That's the other side of it. And that's where companies like us come in. That's where a PwC audit or assurance, risk assurance professional would come and say, we can guarantee that what you said you were going to do, you've done. And here's the proof, and here's the chain of custody behind that. And these technologies will help to do that.
Yeah, I think you can build that value in the product. If someone knows if you upcycle something or recycle it, they're going to get actually some cash back for that.
Yeah.
The other thing is things that are unnecessary and items, Happy Meal toys, things that people don't need and that should be unlawful really to there's another thing I think recently was a code book which had an inbuilt USB connection, and you basically had a little heating element and glue inside. So you plug this thing in and heat it up just so you can stick it in the wall. Had all this electronics in, but how can that be justified? So I think companies really have a responsibility to reducing technology. That hopefully will be more.
You hope that monitoring, control, and reporting, as that improves and people understand that the footprint or the impact they're having. We've all been to IKEA and hoist around that ground floor, and you definitely need one of them. And you get home, why did I buy that? That's a difficult thing to change consumers. But I think ultimately, demonstrating the impact and that being factual, that's about where we come in. It's proving that it's actually factual and it's a genuine impact piece. But no, I agree with you entirely. I think it's something that we all have to look at and try and be a bit more responsible around that. But it's a very difficult thing to change.
And I think we'll do a quick,